Thank you for being here. We're really excited to share with our friends and family. We'll answer a few submitted questions that we've had along the way, and we'll also have time at the end for a question session after we recap our trip. If you want to, you can go ahead as you think of them and add questions in the chat box. And at the end, we'll check and make sure we get those covered for you. Once again, welcome. My name is Mary Price. I'm one of the owners of A Mouse and a Beach travel company, along with my husband, Dave. And my guest this evening, one of our advisors, Sarah Dillon. Go ahead and wave, Sarah, so everybody can see you. She is Vacation Planning by Sarah, so you'll see her on social media. But many of our clients know that we do all the magical things, the Disney parks, Universal parks, ocean cruising, all inclusive. But we also additionally do worldwide travel. So that is something that not all our clients know about. It is something we're stepping into even more so. Sarah and I actually met at the University of Tennessee, and our love of sarcasm and travel made us fast friends. And so we tend to go on lots of vacations together and talk ourselves into lots of different fun options and adventures, but we had never been on a river cruise. So that was something that we decided was very important. Now that, Sarah has been one of our advisors for a few years, we really wanted to step out into this. While we're very familiar, both of us, with ocean cruising, river cruising is quite different, especially the different cruise lines that you can choose from. So we definitely want to share AMA Waterways in particular. And we'll get going and get started here. So welcome to the journey, and we're very excited to share about AMA Waterways.
All right. So first, we kind of just want to take a minute and talk about just a brief overview of the things that we're going to hit tonight. And we're going to try to stay real close to that hour mark. And again, we are recording it. So if you missed something, you want to come back and watch it, it'll be here for you. So we're first going to talk about an overview of our recent trip. So we just got back last Tuesday, so it is very fresh on our minds. Mm-hmm. We're going to discuss some of the benefits of river cruising, why we chose a river cruise in the first place. And then we are going to discuss, and just like what Mary just hit on, was a lot of us are really familiar with ocean cruising, the big giant cruise liners and going to the Bahamas. This is a much different feel. So we want to talk about what some of those differences are. And then we're specifically going to talk about the cruise line that we chose to sail with, which was AMA Waterways. And we're going to talk about what stood out about AMA and why we chose that route. We'll share a few tips, and then we'll talk about if this is something you want to participate in, how do you go about doing that? And we do have a special offer for those tuning in and for those that watch it. So definitely make sure you stay until the end.
Awesome. So Sarah's going to go over our Melodies of the Danube, one of the itineraries we chose. In the chat box too, you'll also see, if you have more interest in AMA Waterways, there's a link there that you can click. And there's also our request a quote if you'd like to try that out tonight.
All right. So Melodies of the Danube. So the Danube is the main river that flows through the central part of Europe. So we were told very quickly that it is not Eastern Europe by one of our tour guides in Hungary. He said we are Central Europe. So the Danube flows through Central Europe. It flows, I believe, all the way down to Croatia is where it goes. And there's some beautiful scenery just all the way up. And it ends around Wilshofen, Germany. So it kind of ends in Germany. So we actually started in Munich, is where we kind of chose to fly in and out of. So we started in Munich and we did a few days on our own. But what we did is we took a train from Munich to Budapest, and that was just beautiful. And we really enjoyed just that aspect. And AMA picked us up from the train station. It was so easy to find. They just had a sign that said AMA Verde. So it said our specific ships. So we knew that that was the one, because there are many different ships, and Budapest is a popular cruise hub. And so we saw our sign and we were ready to go. And so that night was free night. So our whole goal was to board our ship. We had dinner on the ship that was delicious, and kind of learned more. It was like a ship orientation about what to expect for the whole trip. And then after dinner, we had free time. And so we actually chose to get off and take a short half-mile walk to the Parliament building, and we got to see it all lit up at night, and it was just gorgeous. So right along the river, we got to the bridges were lit up, the buildings across the river were lit up. It was just this really sweet time that we got to take pictures and just enjoy Budapest at night. Then day 2, we were ready to go. We chose to do a hike, is what they called it. So a hike to the top of Fisherman's Bastion. I think hike is a loose word. It was really more of a walking tour. And there was a very brief hike, which was to go up, I think he said 125 steps. So we were definitely winded by the time we got to the top, but that was our hike. And we got to overlook the city, and it was gorgeous. Budapest, I will say, was the surprise of our trip. We all didn't really know what to expect about Budapest. And so when we got there, it was so clean. It felt extremely safe. There was so much just right there on the river, right where we were docked was everything. Like, we were 1 block away from the main shopping center that had a H&M and a Zara and a Cartier. Like, we were 1 block away from that. So that was just perfect. But anyway, our tour was fantastic. He took us to both sides. So Budapest is actually divided by the river. So there's a Buda side, which is hilly, and then the Pest side, which is more of the city. And so he took us to both sides. We got to see a lot in that tour, and that left us with some free time that evening for us to go shopping, which is what we did since it was so close. Day 3, it was very much needed. We took some morning sailing. And so we didn't get to Bratislava until around, I want to say 2:00. Mary, does that sound about right?
Yeah, we had lunch first and everything.
Yeah. So it was so nice to sleep in, especially after kind of our travel. So we slept in. We got to go through the largest lock that we were going to go through for the trip. So that was fun. We all just, I don't know, nerded out over the locks. That was really fun.
Videos of concrete. It's fine.
And then what I love is that in Bratislava, so there were 6 of us that went, 3 couples, is we actually split up. We felt so safe and confident in our tour guides that the girls went and did one tour and the boys went and did another tour. And so that was really nice to feel confident in that. And I'll even just say, I would have felt very confident going on my own on a tour, like without any of my friends with me. That's just how kind of small and intimate our tour groups were. And it just felt really good.
And so you even did that last minute. Like, there's flexibility. If you're like, can I actually change over to this one? And they're like, sure. Yeah. So it was pretty nice with the flexibility.
It was great. And it was great. The guys got to do a beer tasting that they wanted to do. And the girls, we did just kind of more of a casual city tour. There was another hike option that you could have done. We chose not to. But I loved that there was really something for everyone to choose from. And then day 4, we went to Vienna, and oh my gosh. So Vienna is just this massive, beautiful city built around music. And we chose to do a bike tour. So I guess we're feeling super active. And so we chose to do the bike tour. Thankfully, Vienna is fairly flat, but there were some city moments where we were in some city traffic. So that was interesting. But we were always safe. Like, it's very different from the US. They have these dedicated bike lanes. So we were always within like a dedicated bike path or a bike lane. And so we had 3, there were 20 of us, 20 guests, and we had 3 tour guides with us. So just think about that ratio. It felt just really good. And I don't go biking every day. I don't go biking every year. I'll just be honest. But it was good to do that. It felt good. There were other tours. There was a bus tour where mostly you would just stay on the bus and kind of drive around. There were walking tours, so lots of options. But Vienna was really fun. We got some free time that evening, and then they even offered a concert that you could go to attend. That was an additional fee. It was the only excursion that would have cost any extra, and we opted not to do that. I don't know. I just don't think it was our cup of tea. But I would say about 3/4 of the ship went to the concert that night, and they said it was really good. So
they also adjusted the dinner time for that night, and they
Mhm.
also had people go to the concert and then come back, and they had a hefty snack, quote unquote, at the end. So they also know how to adjust their itinerary on board to accommodate the excursions, which was really nice.
Yeah, they did great. Okay, so second half of our trip. So day 5. So my background picture, I actually took it. I feel like it's one of those little screen saver images, but it's mine. I'm very proud of myself. So day 5, we toured the Waku Valley, which is this beautiful vineyards that are built into the hills. So essentially you have the hills, and there were these steps, almost like mini retaining walls, but it just looked like little layers in the hills, and those were all the vineyards. That's how they grew the vineyards in the hills, is on these steps, and it was just really beautiful. This picture is from Dürnstein, and that is where, again, we split up. There were 4 of us that did the wine and apricots tasting, which was lovely. I mean, the vineyard owner was there. We got to drink his wine. We had an opportunity to purchase his wine afterwards if we wanted to. And then we got to try the apricots, fresh apricots. It was awesome. And then our other friends that went with us, they chose to do just a tour of the city, and then they went to Melk Abbey, which they said was gorgeous. And so that was wonderful. There was another hike option that we chose not to do. But it was great. And then after that, we actually got up back on the ship for lunch, and it was maybe about 3 hours on the ship, and then we arrived in Grine, Mary. Grine. Okay. Where it was really a neat city, very small. All these were kind of small, especially compared to Vienna and Budapest. But Grine, and we got an exclusive castle visit that only Alma Waterways guests get to go to, and so we felt pretty special. But it was so nice because there weren't any other tour groups there. It was literally just people from our ship,
and we walked off the ship up to a castle. Like that's
not even
something that's here in America.
Not even a quarter of a mile. We're off the ship at a castle. Yep, that's how it is. Day 6, we arrived in Linz, Austria, which is, I believe they said it was the 3rd largest city in Austria. But most people had a choice too. There were 3 kind of options that day. You could stay in Linz and learn more about Linz. You could do a day trip to Salzburg, Austria, which is what I chose to do because I am a huge Sound of Music fan. I will say it poured down rain the entire time. So the hills were not alive with the Sound of Music, but it was still really cool. And actually it just made me want to come back because I just felt that pull, that there was more to this city than unfortunately the rain really let us see. But that's okay. Mary, if you want to briefly talk about it, they chose to go into the Czech Republic and go to Český Krumlov. And so you want to talk about that just a little bit?
So for me, I was like, so it was a tie between Salzburg and Český Krumlov, and we looked at lots of reviews. People really loved both of them. Ultimately, for me, I was like, I want to knock off another country. So we drove from Linz, Austria, into Český Krumlov, which is a touristy city, or little village even, down in the Czech Republic. And you'll also see, this was a quick fact we learned, was Czech Republic, of course, split from Slovakia in 1993. And their name is so long that they actually wanted it to fit on their sports jerseys. So they have quote unquote shortened it to Czechia, which you'll see. We have it spelled right there for you. But it's still known as both. So that was just little facts of things like I never knew that, but I love that they tried to shorten it a little bit just for sports purposes. But it was a gorgeous little city with kayaking and boat tours and a castle. And it was like a little village. So it had just beautiful, like European charm, but it also felt like I was a little bit in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, but also in like a mountain town in like Estes Park, Colorado, just for the wildlife and the restaurants. And it was really cool. And we were an hour and a half from Salzburg. So our day, while not sunny, it was dry. So we got to see everything and take some great shots, and it was beautiful. So I was glad that we were able to see that one, but Salzburg is definitely on my list still.
Just another reason to go back.
Yes. Yes.
So day 7 and 8. So day 8 really doesn't really count because it is a departure day anyway. So it is a de-embarkation day. But day 7, we were supposed to sail to Passau, Germany. And unfortunately, they had extreme rain to the point where the water level was so high that they shut down all transportation on the river, including barges, other river cruises, and there was concern about whether or not our ship would be able to sail under the bridges. And so that affected us. It affected our cruise. Our cruise manager did make some alterations to make the best of the situation, because I always say, life is still life, even when you're in paradise. Like, so we're on this trip, but stuff still happens. And so they offered a bus tour to Passau. And so a lot of people took up on that. They still went to Passau and enjoyed the city. And then here in Linz, which is where we opted to stay, they actually partnered with an art museum. And so we got free entrance into the art museum across that was like literally 10 steps from our boat. And so we got to go. We actually went and chose to do that, which was really cool because they talked a lot about Hitler's art collection. They had a whole area about Hitler's art collection and how they went about kind of resurrecting. I don't think that's the right word, but getting the art that he had taken back. And so that was really cool to see. So that was our trip. It was a lot. It was a lot of fun. We had some really good laughs together. We got to see a lot of different things. But now we're going to kind of go into some of the things that we learned and some things we want to make sure that we share with you.
Yes. And so for river cruising in general, there's lots of benefits to it. You unpack once, but you see a lot. And again, that's similar to ocean cruising. But we actually made our flights go in and out of Munich, Germany. So we did bookend with Munich. But then once we got on board the Alma Verde, we could actually unpack for 7 nights. They also had a laundry service. And so we packed thinking we can also do some laundry halfway and really feel at home while we're knocking off 5 new countries. So I definitely love that. You also get to port in the heart of the country. So you're going through on the rivers that are cutting through the countryside. You get off of a dock and you walk up to a castle. That's pretty cool. And so that's definitely something that stuck out to me. And then also it's scenic, beautiful cruising on 6 different continents. So no rivers in Antarctica, but on every other continent, A Mouse and a Beach helps plan river cruising for clients. There's also minimal pre-planning required before you have your Mouse and a Beach agent who's helping coordinate everything, which is wonderful, reminding you of dates and final payment and tips and gratuities and what's customary and do you bring euros and how much. We help take care of all of those things. And then on arrival, you have an amazing crew that is trained to make your trip the best ever and take care of things like, hey, the water is rising, so we're going to stay here. And on a whim, we're going to go to an art museum. So they take care of everything, including our transfers when we were stuck in Linz and we couldn't do our transfer originally from Vilshofen. So they were very helpful in trying to work with us. So that was wonderful. Meals are included. So it is a structured time, but there is breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they're typically themed to the area that you're in. There's also planned excursions that are available, and it varies with cruise lines how many they offer or the activity levels that are offered. But those are really nice too, especially when it's included in the overall fare. And then the last thing we really noticed was the freedom and flexibility. If we wanted to eat on or off the boat, if we wanted to go on the excursion, if we wanted to have coffee on our balcony, or if we wanted to go listen to the sip and sail cocktail hour, you really were able to choose what you wanted to do. So that was lovely.
So the next thing we really want to hit on is, because again, it's what we're familiar with is ocean cruising. So what are some of the similarities and differences between the two? And so I think immediately one of the biggest differences is that river cruising is going to be significantly smaller ships. Our cruise was full capacity at 149 guests. 149 guests.
This was the first time full capacity since COVID too. So they were so thankful because of course their jobs depend on people going. So that was pretty cool.
So then compare that to Wonder of the Seas, or was it Icon? Icon of the Seas, which is Royal Caribbean's biggest ship, has 7,600 passengers on board. So huge difference. Of course, there's a difference in amenities as well, but that alone is really makes a big difference and shows you how much attention the crew, individual attention you can receive on river cruises. The atmosphere river cruises are going to be quieter, minimal onboard activities. You're looking at the pool in that picture. It was a pool hot tub combo, and we utilize that for sure. But the activities on board are minimal because the focus isn't really on the ship; it's on where the ship is. With an ocean cruise, the ship is part of it. It's part of the destination. A lot of people will choose their Caribbean itinerary based on that ship. What does the ship have? And so it's different in that sense. Also with ocean cruising, you have activities going on 24/7. With river cruising, not so much. Everyone goes to bed and there's no FOMO of what's happening while I'm asleep. Food, river cruising, Mary kind of touched on this, 3 set meals at designated times, whereas ocean cruising, if you want a pizza at 2 a.m., you go get a pizza at 2 a.m. And so there was that difference there to kind of keep in mind. Beverages, river cruising, AMA in particular included alcohol and soda with lunch and dinner, and that was beer and wine. Some lines will offer a cocktail hour. Some lines you can purchase a beverage package. This is just what AMA offered. And then ocean cruising, a lot of people choose to add on those beverage packages for those additional fees to have that kind of unlimited service. Some more differences, ports, like what Mary said, we were porting right in the middle of the city, close to everything. We could walk off and go to a grocery store. And I did one night, walked off. I wanted some cheese. So I walked off and I went to the grocery store that was less than a block from our ship, and I bought some cheese and crackers and took it right back on board. Ocean cruising, those ports can really vary. Some ports are in an industrial area. Some ports involve a really long walk just to get to the actual port. And so that is a big difference, is that it's going to vary with ocean cruising. It's not going to be the simple walk off and bam, there you are at the activity you want to be at. Daily activities on our cruise, the activities started around 9 a.m. and they were planned to occur during the day. Usually we had a morning activity and an afternoon activity, usually revolving lunch in the middle. We did have one day where it was a full day tour, so that was nice. And then after dinner, stuff just winds down. And then ocean cruising really just nonstop. So no matter what type of person you are, morning person or evening person or a late night person, there was something for you to do. Some similarities, exceptional service on both. I've had exceptional service, both river cruising and ocean cruising. Freedom to do what you want to do. So, with an ocean cruise, get an excursion. Don't take an excursion. Stay on the ship, get off. Whatever it is that you want to do. And the same was true for river cruising. We didn't have to do every excursion, and we didn't do every excursion. We did what it was that we wanted to do. Multi-destinations, again, you're waking up in in this case, a new country, and a lot of times a new city. It was really a lot of fun. Excursions and are available with both types, river and ocean cruising, and then a daily itinerary. This picture shows our daily itinerary that we had every day, and it was on the app as well that you could look at.
Another cool thing they did with the daily itinerary, you actually could download an app, and if you play the app while you're going through the river, it'll tell you what historic landmarks you're going by. So if you wanted to go out on your balcony and listen, you could hear about the statue of this crusader who's on this horse. You know, what is that doing in the middle of the Wachau Valley? Like, that's just crazy. So I loved that part too, made it a little more immersive. Okay, so lessons learned. This is an experience of a lifetime, 100%. It was amazing, but it is not restful. So that is good to know. Like, there is not FOMO of missing out on what you're doing at nighttime. But like, if you're in Bratislava and you're on your ship, you're missing out on Slovakia, you know? So if I'm only going to be there one time, I need to get off and go do it and go see. So by the end of the night, they did have a 10:30 snack for those who were still awake, and our young crew was up and eating it. But then we went to bed, and it was a long day for many people, but it was very worth it. But I guess we were discussing, it's a trip, maybe not a vacation that's relaxing. Activities on the ship wind down after 10:30. Like I said, there are set dining hours, so you do have to plan around that. And we also recommend getting all the courses. So you try an appetizer, you try a salad, you try a soup, you try the sorbet, the entree, and the dessert, because it's smaller portions. They're very good, but you want to fill up, especially if, you know, you're doing a lot of walking, or, you know, dinner's not until later. And the other thing is, it's European dining. So every meal was like 2 hours, except for breakfast. So there was that, which was fun. It was a group of 6 of us, and we laughed and enjoyed our server. He was awesome, and we always tried to sit right at his table. So we have a lot of memories from that, but it's just a different flow than what we're used to in America. We do recommend rooms at the front of the ship. It's easy and accessible also, because the back of the ship can be rather noisy due to the engine. So Sarah's room was in the back, and that's something that she said she would change for the next time, for sure. Other ships can dock right next to us. So especially when the Danube River was high, other ships were looking for places to dock, and that's not necessarily normal. But there is sometimes when ships do dock, because everybody is getting off at Grind or Ibs or wherever we are, and you walk through multiple ships to get off at the dock. So they do have it set up that way, that they'll hook together. It's a little annoying if you want to be on your balcony and you're looking into somebody else's room. So it's not all the time, but it does happen. So expectations there. Bike excursions were really awesome. Like we said, in Vienna, we really enjoyed it, but they fill up quickly. You do want to book that ahead of time. So as your advisor, we would say, hey, if you do want to do any bikes, you want to go ahead and grab those. But what was cool about AMA is, if you wanted to go and just take bikes out, you would go up and you could ask for them to get 2 bikes ready for you, and they would let you just take them out into the city too. So again, that's with that freedom and flexibility, which was nice. We definitely recommend making new friends while you're there, or go with friends. It's just really fun. I mean, everybody, you have the expectation of, we're going to do what we want to do when we want to do it. But we're going to eat together and laugh together and make some memories. And it was awesome. So group trips together are definitely recommended. It was really fun. Be on time. You will be left behind, ocean or river, doesn't matter. We did leave behind somebody. I don't even remember where we were going, but all of a sudden we were eating lunch, and the ship started going really close over to the side, and they had to coordinate with this person and tell him where to be, because he was not with the ship when we departed. So then they had to move over to the side and put down the bridge, and it was a whole thing. It was pretty funny, but he got on the ship, so they took care of him. But it is a regimented schedule, so you do have to be prepared and be on time. The weather matters, which we have talked about with the water levels. And honestly, just like ocean cruising, hurricanes, or, if it's too windy and you can't port for the day, I mean, definitely bummers when it comes to travel. But luckily, like AMA and other cruise lines, they make up for it, hopefully, and help you, through that process. Okay, so this is just general, okay, Europe. And so I haven't been to Europe since 2008. It's been a hot minute. We have, gotten married and had babies and such. So water is, from what we remember, it's the same. They don't drink a lot of water in Europe. And if they do, a lot of it is quote unquote gassy or medium. And so we want still water, natural water, no gas. And if you order it, it's more expensive than wine typically, or beer, or they bring out one for you to share with teeny tiny glasses. So water is just hard to come by. But AMA did a great job. They put water in our room every night. And Dave and I would even take some and stash it away just so they would put more in there. And Jeff and Kristen did that. I don't know if Sarah and Matt did that, but we wanted our water at night in the room. They were happy to give it to us before excursions. They also handed us water. So we were very, I think they would call us American about that, but we wanted to stay hydrated. So also the toilet situation in Europe, especially anywhere in the EU, you always want to bring a euro. Make sure you have money to go to the bathroom, because you do have to pay to use them. So that's just a good reminder to where it's an actual, like, put it in the machine and it turns so that you can go into the restroom. So keep the change with you all the time.
All the time. Just
in case. You never know.
All right. So now we want to talk about, okay, why did we choose AMA Waterways? And then
why indeed?
Why did we choose it?
Why?
I chose it because
they give gifts.
Look at this scarf. Like, it is beautiful. It is beautiful. So they do give gifts. The ladies all got scarves.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. And the men, Mary's got hers on. The men all got ball caps.
Yes, it was lovely. And we got luggage
tags. Yeah, these luggage tags that were gorgeous. And so I loved, that is not why we chose AMA Waterways, but it was a little bit. I like nice. It was such a nice little touch that just kind of made it stand out. And of course, genius promoting. I mean, if we were to wear these hats around, like now it's, hey, what does that mean? Oh, well. So AMA's smart. I will say
advertising.
Yeah.
But people will in chat rooms be like, what's the scarf color this year? Tell me about the scarf.
I mean, it's a real, they've been doing that for years. So it's a totally real thing. And it's really, I just thought it was really sweet. Okay. So why did we choose AMA? So their slogan, which I think just hits on it perfectly, which this picture, by the way, is Budapest, like literally through the city, and you've got Buda, the hills, and you've got Pest, the city, on the left side. And so oceans will take you to countries, but rivers take you through them, and that just is so true. And then AMA just takes you to the heart of the countries visited, and they are committed, and we really felt this, to providing each guest with an innovative and unforgettable experience. I really felt that. That's not just jargon. It was real for us. So why did we choose AMA? So first of all, we are young to go on river cruises. We were not the youngest on our cruise. The youngest was actually a junior in high school. But then there was a pretty big gap between her and the next age group, which was probably our age group. We're in our 40s. But I would say in general, the average age group was about 60 to 65. But we were not the only people in our 40s. That we saw several other couples that were our age. And we even made friends with them. We made friends with the young. We made friends. I mean, it was great. We made friends with a lot of people, but
people would come up to us and say, how are you here?
Yeah,
why are you here?
Are you retired?
It's like, no, we have wonderful people helping us with our little people, essentially, is what happened.
Exactly. So aside from that, we did know that AMA did have a younger age group on board. So a comparison, Vikings average age is around 70, 75. And so we knew Amma was a little bit of a younger crowd. And so that was part of why we chose it. The other part, excursions are included, and you will have up to 8 options per day. Now, I think the most we had was 4, but they offer up to 8 on certain cruise lines. But I mean, 4 options were enough for us. A variety of excursion activity levels, hikes, bike tours, walking tours. They had a gentle walkers where they got kind of a smaller van and were able to still go to the top of these castles, the same place we would have hiked to. They took the van to the top, so they were still able to enjoy the exact same things that we were able to enjoy. Due to its varying activity levels, kind of like I said, the youngest guest that they allow is 4 years old. They recommend 8. We didn't see anyone that age, but that is kind of their recommendation. And then they had wonderful, we didn't choose this option, but they do have amazing pre and post cruise extensions. I would say on our ship, I know 25 of them did the excursion, and then the others did I think it was 50 of them were saying after and going to Prague. So very cool. Very cool.
And then also another group did the lower Danube prior. So that was going through Romania and hitting up a lot of what's that famous gate there? I can't remember.
The Iron Gate.
The Iron Gate?
Iron Gate?
Yeah, like this huge statue like on the Danube River. So very cool to see. That's only been open for a little bit for people to be able to see. So and that was another theme throughout Central Europe as well, was just the Soviet Union and the history and the impact. So if you're at all into history, World War II, this was a phenomenal one to choose as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Another reason we chose Amma was their luxury service. And here's how I know that it's luxurious. Adventures by Disney, which if you've not heard of that and you're looking for a tunnel to go down for a solid hour, you can go to the Adventures by Disney website, and it will make you want to go all the places. So just be careful.
All over the world.
They actually charter Amma Waterways ships and for their river cruises. And those are going to be a little bit more active. So if you do have younger kids that you want to take, I would actually recommend an Adventures by Disney cruise over a specific Amma Waterways cruise. But it's the same ship, same crew, but Disney controls the itinerary. And so that's kind of a difference there. Additionally, Backroads, I don't know if you've heard of Backroads. I really hadn't until I became a travel agent, but they do custom group tours, and they will walk you through everything, and they do more. It's significantly more active. It doesn't have to be, but it is more active. And but they also will rent group space on Amma Waterways. So you have 2 really reputable companies that are using Amma Waterways. And so that's how you know that you're kind of in the right place. We did love, it was smart casual attire that we felt comfortable. Even at dinner, I didn't feel like I had to, I mean, I would shower because we rode a bike for 11 miles or we did a hike. But we didn't feel like we had to get, there wasn't a formal night on board. We didn't feel like we had to bring any extra special outfits. And in Europe in general is smart casual. So you don't see anyone in Europe, any true European, in leggings and a t-shirt out and about. That's just not what they wear. And so it was kind of a very European attire. And then award-winning dining experiences were on Amma. They're really known for their food. And it was good. I mean, there were maybe 1 or 2 things that I was like, nah, not my favorite. Like, I think there was a parsnip soup that I was like, I don't love this. But
I think, to be fair, our waiter said, meh. Like he told us to. He told us. But we also knew you need to eat now if you're going to be full.
Exactly. So I mean, and there were always multiple options at dinner. And so they always had themed meals. So lots of goulash and schnitzel options because we were in Germany and Hungary and Austria. And it wasn't my favorite, but on the menu, they always had the option for steak, salmon, and a grilled chicken breast. So you could always choose that. And I will say their fries were good. They had fries and potato wedges, and they were both good.
They were both good. And then, did you cover the chef's table specifically, Sarah?
I didn't. I did not.
So the chef's table is one thing that Alma does offer. And so when you get on board, so you don't have to do it ahead of time, but when you get on board, they'll say, which night would you like to join us? This is included. It's a small, intimate dinner. You can watch the chef kind of prepare the meal. And it is a planned out 7-course, delicious meal. It's the same menu every night. If they have openings, you can go multiple nights on your ship, but everybody gets that as part of it. So some people will dress up a little more for chef's table. There's also a captain's night towards the end where people get a little more dressed up. But again, it's not like ball gown, anything like that. I mean, men are encouraged to wear slacks to dinner. There were men in jeans for dinner, but it was a very doable cruise for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so popular Alma Waterways itineraries, they travel, again, like we said, they hit 6 continents. So they are all over. Similar also to Uniworld, Talk, Scenic and Emerald, Viking, Avalon. Don't know if I said that one. So you can really travel many, many rivers all over the world with lots of different cruise lines. There are 34 with Alma different types of sailings within Europe. If you want to go, there's two, I believe, in Vietnam, Cambodia on the Mekong. There's the Magdalena River, and Colombia is getting very popular. And so a lot of cruise lines have started going there as well. Africa has 7 options with safaris and wildlife river cruises and the Nile, which that is my bucket list. So I will hopefully be on that one very, very soon. And Adventures by Disney does that one also. So either one I will take. They also do specialty themed ones. Food and wine is very popular, obviously, especially on the Douro in Portugal and Spain. And they have golf ones for golf enthusiasts. There's Christmas markets, which,
that's my bucket list.
Yep, Sarah's. So those are great. So here are 4 that we just wanted to highlight really quickly. The Enchanting Rhine is France, Germany, Netherlands, and Switzerland. And it's a great first cruise choice because this is the one that has the castles, right? So you are on the river looking up and there are castles everywhere and it's beautiful. So a lot of sailings will recommend that you start with the Enchanting Rhine River. Flavors of Portugal and Spain. Again, I said that's also popular for the wine enthusiasts. It's a unique option. The ships are even smaller. They're about 100 people because they have to go through smaller locks. But it is beautiful views, and those are going up in popularity as well. Christmas markets on the Danube. So we saw in the central areas where they would have the markets. Again, you can walk off the ship and you're like right there, which is cool. In Hungary, Slovakia, Austria, and Germany. So Christmas, enough said, Sarah's bucket list trip right there. And then at the bottom, I put mine. So Secrets of Egypt and the Nile. And I would totally geek out on that one. Definitely an experience of a lifetime. That one would also be a longer cruise. But these vary anywhere from like 7 nights up until 20 plus nights. And sometimes you can even partner and like the other group did, where you do a lower Danube, get off and do the upper Danube. So there's so many options really with these.
Okay, so we'll kind of move through this. So move through this kind of quickly. These are some things that we just kind of want you to think about when when it's time for you to start considering a river cruise. So one, what is included with the price of your cruise? So are excursions included? Are they not included? Is having a glass of Austrian wine important to you at dinner? Is that included or is that not? And so that's some decisions to making, because if excursions aren't included, then initially the price of the trip is going to be lower. But then you add the excursions that you want and that trip price will raise. So that's something to just keep in mind as you look at things. What excursions are even available? And so again, we said for us, it kind of pairs with the next question. It was important to us to have excursions that had different activity levels. We could not have just done walking tour, walking tour, walking tour, walking tour. That it wouldn't have worked for us and our personalities. It would not have worked for my husband and his personality. So we needed that break where it was a hike, it was a walking tour, it was free time, it was a bike ride. We needed that variety for us. That was what was important to us. What countries and ports am I most interested in visiting? So really for Mary and I, when we looked at this cruise, it was Germany and it was Austria. Those were kind of the two countries that we were like, we just want to go to Germany and Austria, and also Switzerland, but it didn't quite work out that way.
Makes sense.
The river doesn't flow that way.
That way.
So Hungary was a bonus. Czech Republic was a bonus. Slovakia were bonus countries to us. But we hit what was important to us, which was Germany and Austria. And then how active do you want to be on this trip? I think that's important to ask yourself. You may want a trip that doesn't include excursions because you may not want to go on any. You may want to just do free time on your own in each city, or you may just want to enjoy the ship and kind of get on and off at your leisure. And so that's something to consider. And then finally, what room category is best? And these are all things that a Mouse and a Beach agent can help you with, is talking through those and talking about what's going to work best for you and the people that are joining you on the cruise. Oh no, where's my picture? Oh,
Sad day. What was it?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, it used to have something that was river cruising related.
Yes.
To get you excited. If you are ready and you're like, yeah, let's do this, for sure, contact us, and we can point you. Our quote request link is right over in the chat. Work together then with your advisor to find the perfect itinerary, ship, and room type. The cool thing about river cruising is that you can book all the way out till 2026. So it doesn't have to be right now. It can be that trip of a lifetime. I have always wanted to see the Alps. I have always wanted to go to Amsterdam and do the Anne Frank house. I have always wanted to go to France and go to Normandy or sail on the Seine through, Paris. There are so many options and really cool things you can do. So it can be in a couple of years, that you've got an anniversary coming up, a birthday. I will say I used my 40th birthday as the excuse. I'm like, let's go on a river cruise. And Sarah was like, okay. So that's how that happened. It's what happens. But we can narrow it down for you. We can give you the best options and walk it through and just help you decide what works best. And if you already know, for specifically AMA Waterways, it's also a good option because some cruise lines have you pay in full over a year out. And while some people, that's not a problem, for others, that's not realistic. So with AMA, there is that deposit, that $800 deposit, but final payment is 90 days prior. So that is helpful if you're hoping to save or if you want to pay towards it. That's all great options as well. Our services with this are completely free to you. It's complimentary. We are happy to guide you through it for your next adventure. And we love when we help families, couples, friends, anybody reconnect and really enjoy a trip of a lifetime.
Yay. All right. So a couple of specials. This is your slide, Mary.
Awesome. Okay, so if you're interested in securing, booking, reserving your next river cruise with A Mouse and a Beach Travel, you'll get $100 off of your final payment. So we will pay $100 of your final payment. So that is just an offer we wanted to extend. If you want to go ahead and secure your river cruise within the next 2 weeks, we'll sign you up for that one. In addition, there are always deals that AMA Waterways, Viking, Avalon, Talk, Uniworld, all the different cruise lines. If you have a favorite, they are running. So currently, Sarah put up here, AMA Waterways has complimentary European land package. So sometimes if you book a certain cruise at a certain date, they'll throw in 3 nights of Prague. So, I mean, that's pretty great if you've always wanted to go to Prague and the Czech Republic. And so that is excellent. You can put those together and we would be happy to plan that out. That particular offer expires June 30th, just like the deal to get us to do the special offer and pay $100 towards your final payment.
All right. And then last but not least, what questions do you all have?
And
you can type them in the chat or you can say them out.
We have a few also from people who couldn't be here but wanted it recorded, so we can also do that as well. But we would love to answer anything that you have.
Oh, we got questions, Mary.
Okay.
How would you say an AMA cruise compares to other cruise lines like Viking? So I know there are some differences. We did see some Viking ships while we were out and about, and so they looked awesome. They looked just as nice as the AMA ships. One difference that is kind of important to us is that Viking usually offers one excursion a day, and it is not included in the price of your trip. And so that steered us away from Viking and more towards AMA. Mary, do you want to add anything to that?
Yes. And even to clarify, so Viking does include one, but it's always a city walking tour. You can pay for any additional ones that day. And also Viking is targeted at an older audience, and which is great. That works. And if you wanted to go and just be there and do your own thing, Viking could be a great option. But if you wanted people to have, biking, hiking, if you want the activity or different immersive ways within each country, that's also why we chose AMA versus Viking. They've also done a great job with advertising. America knows Viking. They did their commercials with Downton Abbey, which was a great idea in particular. And it's a wonderful cruise line. It will be one where you will probably have a bill at the end because not everything is included. But we could walk you through that and you can decide what you want and what you don't want. And again, they are very much adults only. So it's an older targeted audience. The excursions will move a little slower. Just to accommodate for their guests. And you can either go off and do your own thing and explore, or you can stay with them. So those are typically the options for Viking. Again, not a bad cruise line at all. They also offer Viking Ocean, which is a small cruise liner, not as big as Royal ships and Celebrity and Princess. It's smaller destination ships as well. So Viking has a lot to offer. AMA was just different and definitely what we were interested in for this trip.
What was our favorite port? Mine was Budapest. It was Budapest, hands down.
I think mine would have been Passau, Germany.
We didn't go to Passau, Germany.
I'm so sad. I really wanted to see like the German, like the little village. That's what I was looking for. Dave was also, he loved the Wachau Valley, which was like the winery and the apricot tastings and all of those things. Dave likes country. So he wanted to feel open space, the little villages. I also like that, I think, as well, the greenery. The cities were very cool, but I was ready to see some of like the medieval villages. I think those were my favorite.
Great. What would be an expected cost for a trip like what we did? That is a great question. So it definitely depends on the room type that you get. Mm-hmm. So I believe the average cost was around, I think it was 8,000 up to maybe 15 because there were some suite options. Was that right, Mary?
Yes. Yes. Okay. There were some larger room options and that's for AMA. And it also depends on if you're getting air. It depends on what time of year you're going. Prices do vary there. It also depends on what deal that you're getting with your package. Does it have onboard credit? I will say, like with Viking, I would say you could come in cheaper than the $8,000 price point. But again, you'll probably have a bill to pay towards the end, which might be okay. I mean, that might be how you want to do that as well. So that's probably going to be, that's why a lot of people do like to book it in advance for a few years and kind of save up for a trip like this as well. But it does vary a little bit with air. Actually, sometimes they'll throw in free air.
Sometimes they will, but I think you've got to be at not Knoxville, Tennessee.
Yes, you might have to drive to Charlotte or Atlanta.
Jenny actually had a follow-up question. Great question, Jenny. That is total. So that was per couple for 2 people. So that was total. And so really when you break that down, I think you're looking at, I don't know, math is hard.
50% of that.
Look at it.
47.5
divided by 7
Yes.
days. Anyway,
Mhm.
something
Yes. Yes, exactly.
okay. Does the food change with the country that you are in? So yes and no, because yes. So the food that we had was very Austrian, Hungary, Germany, which is all the same food. They like schnitzel and they like bratwurst and they like goulash.
Meat and potatoes, very
Meat,
much so.
potatoes.
Dane was in heaven. Sarah was over it.
Well, I mean, I liked it for a little bit. And then I was like, I would like something not this.
But even their beer and their wines changed based on the country. So they would have Hungarian winery, represented. Then they'd have the Austrian and from different areas. And then they'd have German beer, German wines. So I did like that they would change the whole menu based on that.
But I would say, so like on a French cruise where you're sailing through France, you're going to have more France food. French food. If you're in Spain and Portugal, it's going to reflect the flavors of those countries.
Hopefully tapas, because everybody loves tapas.
Hope so. Spain and Portugal is on my list because I love some tapas. Okay, do you feel like AMA is a good option for multi-generational families compared to other river cruise lines? I do. And, I saw a mother-daughter combo. There were some solo travelers that were on our cruise. There was a family that had the two younger ones and their parents. And so I feel like it would have been easy. I would want my kids to be older. So I would want that. And I would probably travel with friends or, like you said, multi-generational family. So if I was bringing younger kids, they had people to interact with that they knew, like our family members. Mary, what would be your thoughts on that?
I would agree with that. I would also say the Adventures by Disney specifically, they're built for kid activities, adult activities, very immersive. With AMA Waterways, you're going to hike in Germany. You're going to bike, like we keep saying, walk and learn about the city, do a beer tasting, right? But with Adventures by Disney, for instance, who rent out these AMA ships, take the whole ship, they actually make pretzels in Germany. They go in and they learn how to play stringed instruments in Austria. So it's just a little bit different. It's a little more immersive, if that makes sense, to combine with the culture. So I think both of those would be options, but I do feel like AMA would be the best one just with cruise lines, I would say.
Okay, Marcella has a question. Did you bring euros or how does that work? Mary brought euros. She went to a local bank and
yes. So for Tennessee in particular, First Horizon does give you euros. So they do with the normal exchange rate through Wells Fargo. It was there within 24 hours. It was very easy. And if you bank with First Horizon, if you're from Tennessee, you can go get euros very easily. Most banks in Tennessee outside of that do not work with euros. So I was able to get mine through that way. And then we brought euros because most of the countries were in the EU, so they did euros. And there was tipping that we had to do throughout the trip for our tour guides for different excursions, which if you decide to take a trip like this, we would also coach you on that. You do tip, not like Americans tip. It's a much smaller portion in Europe. They don't expect nearly what we do here in America, but we'll prep you for that. That's a great question. But Sarah, how did you get your euros?
So I went to First Horizon Bank as well. I am not a customer. They were still willing to get me euros, but I needed to bring cash to do it. I couldn't pull it from like my debit card or anything. And so I went too late. I'll just be honest. I went like the Wednesday before our trip, and I know there was that 24-hour turnaround, but she was like, I just don't feel confident doing this. And I was like, fair. That is so fair. So we just went, we landed in Germany, we took the train. And then when we got to our hotel in Germany, we asked where the closest bank was. And there was one like just around the corner. So we just went to that bank and used their ATM. And so we got euros. Oh, thank you, Jenny. Yeah. So I used to bank at SunTrust. And so I switched my banks because I got married. And so I remember SunTrust giving me euros in the past. So I'm not surprised Truist does. And I should have asked them. Anyway, we went to a bank in Germany and used their ATM, and it gave us, when I looked at our bank statement when we got home, they did not charge me any fees. So we just got the flat exchange rate for what it was at the time.
And they did guide us. They say if you go and get it in Europe, you'll want to go to an ATM that is attached to a bank. So make sure it's just with a bank. And then, they always say don't do the exchange rate in the airport. That's going to be one of the highest rates of changing them, euros and stuff. Yeah. Also, when you get back to the States, if you have enough, you can actually return the euros and get cash back for it. So that was good to know as well. Thank you so much for being here. Feel free to contact us if you have any other questions. And thank you so much for your time.